All right, I'm on the right profile this time. Thank God. Wouldn't want my viewers for LRH to know that I'm a fucking nerd. All right, let's see. So our last adventure brought you guys all the way to the Blackrock Stockade, and so I'm just waiting for this to actually start broadcasting
Hey,
to the YouTube channel.
Yep,
What's
we're
that cat
rolling
doing?
on.
Okay, cool. Okay, let me just link this to the people who watch this. So first off,
Shout
hey
out to the
LRH.
chatters in the chat rooms.
hey, Glitch! Get out of there. She's in my garbage. Sorry.
All right, so cool. We'll let the chatters know, and I'm gonna post that up in the topic right there. And I think I tell Pound Llamas on Liberia and Pound Not Math on Liberia, which are like the two cool places to be on Liberia. So saith me. And then I'll tell fucking firm chats too. So that's it's Jenks Slack server. It's like the IRC retirement home there. And then I'm gonna pop off a Discord real quick to. Oh, let me not do an announcement to the whole of JRE, uh, but I'll put it in the Blowjob Rogaine Discord and in the main channel of LRH. And yeah, I think that's all the people that we tell about D&D. It's just like a low-key kind of affair right there. So shout out to everybody who is tuning in week after week to hear about these intrepid adventures. I'm going to turn it over to our master archivist, Zartet. Zartet, what went down in our last session?
Yeah, just as Load said, we were coming up on Blackrock Stockades. We had just left the Honeycomb Caverns, deciding where to go. We head forth southeast towards the Blackrock Stockades, a fortress built on a basalt cliffside. It's a stronghold of King Geordie the Little. As we leave the Honeycomb Caverns, Angie's able to make out some tracks on the path, various Legionnaire, Copper Lizard, and injured deer tracks, um, which we take a alternate way to avoid wherever those tracks are leading. Continuing through the countryside, it's very apparent the level of destruction the red rain has wrought. Eventually, about 2 hours north of the Blackrock Citadel, we see what appears to be buzzards circling about a mile up the road. As we approach closer, we are able to see that they are circling over a stone bridge known for being an ambush point for bandits. Closer still, and we realize these aren't buzzards at all, but more of those demon gulls. Having much experience with these hell beasts at this point, we approach to engage, and when we do so, two gulls fly up, but a different sort of gull we'd never seen before remains. This one is some kind of freak mutation that is much larger, with neck frills and odd tentacles sprouting from it. Zartet prays for guidance for he and his party mates to whatever divinity remains. Angie, imbued with this divinity, takes a shot with her bow at the freak demon gull, but the shot is ricocheted off its scaly hide. Logic sneaks up on the bird's blind spot, and imbued with divinity as well, shears off clean one of the freak gull's wings, leaving it earthbound. The two gulls that flew up at our approach earlier now begin sweeping patterns at Logic, who takes a hearty blow from one of their talons. Ever the protector of young Logic, Zartet chucks his spear at Logic's attacker and impales it dead. Kuntz hurls his claw hammer at the other, but it too bounces off the beast's hide. While Zartet, Kuntz, and Logic are occupied with the demon gulls, Angie steps forth to the boss gull and takes its head clean off with Bisbee's blade with the help of the power of prayer. Strewn on the bridge are the bodies of bandits, as well as a severed arm that doesn't appear to belong to one of the bodies we see. Kuntz peers over the side of the bridge to see if he could see who the arm belongs to, and is pelted in the face by a wad of venomous spit. He's effectively blinded. Zartet and Angie traverse down the gully to see what is under the bridge. We find the juvenile copper lizard. Angie tosses a stone to distract it, and with its back turned, she unleashes an arrow, killing the young creature instantly. The rest of the party comes down and we survey the bodies beneath the bridge. There's nothing to loot, but there is a blood trail leading away towards the nearby woods. We notice that these bandits had begun to change in some way. Teeth that have fallen out but are being replaced with fangs, similar to the bodies we'd seen in pies. Logic searches the nearby brush a bit more in depth and finds a very fine bottle of brandy with a silver key on a ribbon tied around the bottle. Kuntz picks up the severed arm we'd found earlier and says we should attempt to find the man whom the arm belongs to. So we follow the blood trail, attempting to find this man. When we do, he's face down on the ground, but appears to still be alive. Zartet turns him over, and this bandit too has begun to change. Serpent-type eyes with slits instead of pupils, and he's also in very bad shape. He's too bad off to save, and the changes are happening before our eyes. He pleads for us to help him, making promises he knows he can't keep. But Zartet has seen enough and drives his spear through the throat of this bandit, putting him out with soon to be much misery. Kuntz disapproves. We take the locket he was carrying with the portrait of a woman and an inscription reading A, Heart A. We continue our path towards the stockades, wondering if it's good berries that are keeping us from facing the same fate as these bandits and the people of Pies. On the outskirts of Blackrock, we see large droves of people being turned away from the gates. They're in search of food and protection from King Geordie's men, but are not having any luck with getting into the citadel. Some of them appear to be corrupted by the blight going around. As we are making our way towards the gates in the opposite direction of everyone being turned away, a mob forms around us and begins to attack because they think we have food. The blinded Kuntz swings his hammer, killing one of the beggars biting at his leg. Zartet disapproves of this, while Angie unsheathed Bisbee's blade, causing the rest of the mob to scatter. We continue to approach the gate, brandishing our Legion helmets to indicate we are good guys, but the guards of the tower advise us to approach no further. Kuntz seems to be getting desperate in his blinded state, imploring the guards that we have a cure for the blight. Kuntz comes about 20 yards away from the gate and begins to try and cast Friends. The soldiers are not keen on magic users at all, and immediately beset upon Kuntz a hail of arrows which pierce and completely incapacitate him. He appears to be dead. Logic is given permission to approach Kuntz by the guards to drag him away, and he does so back to the rest of us out of sight of the guards. Zartet removes the arrows from Kuntz, cures wounds out of sight, and stabilizes him. However, the guards were sure he was dead and are suspicious. We're a quarter of the way to level 6, and the gates of Blackrock Stockades with bows trained on us from the guard tower are where we're at right now.
All right, excellent. So you've come a long way. So at the beginning of this session, can I get how many hit points each of you have remaining?
Oh, sure.
10.
10 for Angie, the Valiant Ranger. Kuntz, what do you have?
11.
Give me a moment here.
It's got to figure out. Logic, you have 11 left?
Open it up. I'm at 7.
7 hit points left for Kuntz. And then Zartet, what are you sitting at right now?
24.
24. So, yeah, Zartet has been relatively unscathed compared to the rest of you.
Mission
So
accomplished.
I believe you were trying to make it to the Blackrock Citadel before nightfall, and I'm sad to say that you had just made it as the sun was starting to set, and it is beginning to become dark here. The four of you are, I want to say, about 150 yards away from the Blackrock Stockade. So the Blackrock Stockade is sort of a fortress combined of a wall of logs driven into the ground. And then many of them are set out and sharpened, pointed outwards. And then there is a stone wall behind that where all the archers are. And the rest of it is set in to this large sort of pillar of basalt that rises high above the surrounding plains. So this area is a lot of sort of windswept scrub and twisted trees. And in general, it has a good line of sight in any direction for miles and miles and miles. This is kind of like the lowland area outside of that's significantly downhill from the Honeycomb canyons that you guys were just in. So night is falling. It will be dark soon, and all of you are wounded. Many of your spells are expended, and the murder of the one beggar that came to you for help has not gone unnoticed. You're starting to see sort of eyes, sort of at the very periphery. They're keeping like a careful distance right now, but you're seeing more and more of the beggars that have been turned away looking at you four and perhaps wondering if you're weakened enough that they can rush you. So to give you an idea, so Blackrock Citadel has a small sort of cart path leading up to it, and there is a main highway that it's off of. You guys are, I want to say, about 300 yards away from the main highway, which is the road to Vora Brink. It's basically two ruts on either side where carts pass each other. And it is like sort of the main transverse that by which people move wagons and so forth all over the island.
What sort of structures are outside of the wall?
So pretty much everything is inside of the wall. In fact, as you take a look, you can see signs where it looks like there have been fires outside of the stronghold, and like maybe a shanty town was set to the torch or whatever. But essentially, everything has been cleared away, and they seem like they're on very high alert. This may be sort of the last bastion left of authority on the entire island of Moria.
Here's another question. Was Kuntz able to successfully cast Friends before he was felled by arrow?
No, he was, he was blind at the time. And then two, he was sort of taken aback. He must have been suffering like a fever of the brain or something like that. Or it may be that the corruption has set in on him, but it was certainly not the act of a sane man.
We got to get Kunt's help. Like, that's our only way inside. We have to show like he's injured, but he's not blighted. Neither are we.
Okay. As you guys are making up your minds what to do, you hear, once again, you're starting to become accustomed to some of the sounds of the strange island. Like the monstrous gulls have a particular cry, and you begin to hear the sound of a wing of them flying overhead, and villagers and beggars and unfortunates and waifs begin to scatter. And slowly you're realizing that amongst the weeds and the tall grasses and so forth, there must be hundreds of people out here hiding in ditches and sleeping in holes and so forth, because a great cry of alarm goes up. And then before too much longer, the wing passes overhead, and they don't seem to swoop down. They seem like they're headed further to the west there. But you're now realizing that the problem is more dire than you thought, and the number of displaced people and refugees is quite large in this area, and many of them are just hiding out.
Well, we can't help them at all, but maybe we could try to sway a mob, even through deceit or something. I don't know. But this is,
Okay. Well, as you're making up your minds what you want to do, it is getting darker, and you hear a whistling sound, and it flies kind of far afield of you, but you realize that somebody has used a sling to fire a stone at the four of you. And it just sort of zips by, but it's your first sign that something may be awry.
Why don't we just leave this place? These people are assholes, and they don't deserve our amazing help.
At the end of your claw hammer.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, another rock goes swinging by, and Kuntz, it seems like it's aimed for you, but you manage to avoid it this time. The stone whips through the air and strikes you, Zartut, on your shoulder. You suffer 1 hit point of damage. It's only like a little rock and so forth, but the others seem emboldened by it, and you're starting to hear cries from the surrounding area, like, let's get him, and that kind of thing. A few people seem to be crying out. They have food, and you can hear others like warning off, like, they'll get, don't get got like the last people, etc.
You said there's a road that we're on right now.
You're about 300 yards,
people, but there's another path kind of adjacent. That's another kind of ditch. That's like the way to Vorbrink.
So to give you an
Also
idea of
going
what's
to the
going on, you were about 300 yards south of the road, and sort of all around Blackrock Citadel, there are encampments. Like they're mostly like lean-tos and places where people have just dug into the dirt, like basically made burrows to hide in, and they're trying to ride out what's happening. And they're really, really like a desperate situation for a lot of these people. But they seem to be riled now, and they know that you're not part of the Blackrock Stockade, and they saw that Kuntz was attacked. So now it seems like they're working up their courage to attack you.
Yeah, hey guys, I don't like this place. This place is shit. I'm on my way to Vorbrink,
Okay.
which is our original goal, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're blind.
Yeah, you're definitely.
I have a walking stick. You can see it in my hand here, and I will just find it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
There's no way I can use like my status to appeal to the people.
You could try to.
With the areas.
Yeah. You haven't attempted to yet.
Tell him that Kuntz is our prisoner, and you're.
Okay.
You're fucking prisoner.
Well, you are now.
Yeah.
I'm not going along with this.
Okay.
You
Tell
are
him that
going
they
to
can't
die.
fuck with us.
Yeah.
We just have to get into the tower.
Yeah.
Okay. So the uprising has now begun.
I've left the group. I'm not in this group anymore. I am all alone on my way to Vorbrink.
So are you saying that you want to head off towards the east, towards Vorbrink?
No, he can't because I'm holding him.
No, okay. So what's happening now
I
is
begin to cast Fireball on Logic.
do you actually want to cast Fireball on Logic? Because this will
Unless he lets me go.
Well, so just a couple of things. One, this will lead to the swift dissolution of the party and likely the death of all of you, because you're now increasingly aware that you're surrounded by these people. Just more and more people are sort of banding together, and finally, a group of shoutouts to Rebirth in the chat who says that this stream looks like the tailgate party for the January 6th Capitol insurrection, right there. All right, shoutouts to Rebirth. It's been too long. So a group of men have sort of banded together, and they're approaching you. It seems to be maybe these are the strongest left of this sort here, but there are about 15 men, and they have cobbled together. Some of these, you can barely even call some of these weapons. Like some people have hoes.
While I'm holding Kuntz,
Yeah.
I want to, in his ear, I'm like, can't you cast Friends now? You know, like.
Do you have another charge of the spell?
Nope.
Okay. So, it looks like about 15
I can
of
cast
these guys.
Web, Sleep, Invisibility, Fireball, or Chill Touch. Web might be good.
About 15 of them are approaching you now, and they do so with trepidation. They've seen that you killed someone else, and they don't look like they're fighters per se, but they are holding, like, one of them has a pickaxe, and one's got like a hoe and so forth. One guy has a short sword. The largest of them seems to be their leader. He is a big guy with a broken nose, splayed to like one side of his face, and a head of curly black hair. And along his neck, you can see just blood and scabs. It looks like he got burned with a torch or something, like somebody pushed a torch against his neck and burned him pretty badly. It appears like he's not doing especially well with this wound to your eyes, Artet. So the 10 of them are approaching you, and this guy with the burned neck calls out to you and says, "There's more of us than there are of you. I want all of you to drop your arms and lay down on the ground. If you give us all your food, you won't be harmed."
We don't have any food, do we?
Well, that's not happening.
Yeah.
We have iron rations.
I have no food.
But I mean, in either case, that's not happening, right?
No.
I mean,
We can kill all these people. Let's just kill them.
Okay. You're also hearing behind you, more people are moving in from the back there. And when you guys hesitate and don't answer back to them, more stones are thrown. And so these people are just throwing rocks at you.
Okay.
May I try to
How many
appeal-
people are there
So
in total?
you can
Like
see
if I had to
you can see
quickly
about
scout and
it's
guess.
getting dark right now, so it's harder and harder to see. But you're really in the middle of this sort of encampment. So one of them hurls a stone at you, Angie, and you hear it coming and duck immediately. The stone flies right over your head and actually hits one of the men that's coming towards you. It just sails like right over your head and winds up hitting one of the guy, and he cries out, "Ow, what the fuck?"
I want to step forth at this point.
Okay, so Zartek,
And
you're stepping
say-
forward.
Yeah. And Logic's holding Coons. And was like, this man is our prisoner. I know he killed one of your people, and that's why we're trying to bring him forth inside for justice. Because we don't have the blight, but we may know of some cure, but we need to discuss it with, people that actually know something.
So as soon as you say,
I offer them my 1+1 good berry that I have.
okay, as
as
soon
a
as you
peace
say
offering.
a cure for the blight, several of them begin talking at once, and two of them break free from the others and rush up to you, demanding this cure for the blight. As you're looking at them, one of them looks like he's in a pretty advanced stage of the blight. His jaw has kind of split on either side of his face, and to a rictus, and you can see he's got a mouthful of pointed teeth. He barely looks human at this point. The other one that's with him, you can't see what's happening, but all of his clothes are covered with just, it looks like his skin is just seeping. So his shirt is just like almost like polka dotted with disgusting fluids, where he must have seeping sores under his shirt. And they're crowding towards you pretty quickly. They're running towards you, Zartet, demanding this cure and getting closer. So while this is going on, more stones are flying at you from the back. Logic, you are struck by one that hits you in the back, but doesn't really do any damage to you. It's just a reminder that it looks like, and more people are piling on here. Some may be only running forward to see the cause of the commotion. Some of them may just be starving and need something to eat. But it's now a terrible situation to be out after dark in the middle of this sort of refugee nightmare there.
Like I said,
is there a clear path to the castle?
I would say at this point, no. You guys have been surrounded by an increasing number of people. It looks like there are about 50 to 60 people around you. The people who look the most dangerous are the two that are rushing towards you, the one with the split mouth grin, and the guy that is seeping, just like completely covered in fluids and gunk and so
All right,
forth. So those are approaching
Let's
you
kill
now.
them all.
Is it reasonable? Yeah, right. Is it
Yeah.
reasonable for us to kill all of these civilians?
They may not.
Yes.
They may not leave you with any choice at this point.
Can I just draw my blade and attempt to calm them down?
Yes, you absolutely can draw your blade and attempt to rebuff these people and drive them back.
We
Okay.
could do that, Angie,
So they can
or
listen to us. I just want
we
them to
could
listen.
kill them all.
Okay. I will tell you that cunts, in
I don't
my
think they'll listen
estimation,
to us.
I don't think that the four of you are a match for these 60 people. I think you will be overwhelmed.
I can cast web on them all and then set them all on fire.
You could certainly
We're
try
in
that.
the middle,
Do
dude.
one of those things, I think.
Yeah, you could certainly try that, but you are in the middle of several people. All right, so Angie, are you drawing your sword?
Angie, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take. Ooh, wow. So you draw a Bisbee's blade, and it shines in what's left of the last rays of the dying sunlight. Catch Bisbee's blade, and many people take notice. Nobody wants to be cleaved in half by this giant sword. So you buy yourself some time right there. The two men who were approaching you, neither of them is so far gone that they're ready to get cleaved in twain, so they fall backward. So while this is going on, you hear wings overhead, right? And many people have come to learn to fear the sound of these gulls. That everybody who's here at this point has seen somebody just get pecked apart by one of these monster gulls. And so everybody is a little bit worried about it. So what you hear...
How far away are the birds?
Oh, well, you
Are they
can't
coming
see
back
them
the
right
way
now.
that they
The
came?
moon is not up, and it's dark overhead. Right? So the sun is set.
Earlier you said that they flew west, but are they coming back from the west?
You
or
really
coming
can't tell at this point. Yeah, it's starting to get very dark out, and your eyes have not adjusted yet. So you cannot tell where the sound is coming from. It was just, you heard big flapping wings over the sound of...
I'm going to take this opportunity while there's immediate recognition among the crowd that the birds are here. I'm going to say, the birds are here. Everybody back into your holes for your lives.
Okay. So Logic, you're attempting to beguile about 60 or 70 people at once here. So what is your charisma? What,
Oh no, my
Yeah.
charisma's 12.
12? All right, let's see how that goes for you. Are you able to... Yeah, you actually do. You manage to distract a number of people. And one thing that's in your favor is that you're starting to see flashes of light up in the sky. And everybody's noticing this. You hear like a fluttering sound, and then kind of like a... And then there's a big... type sound, and then you'll see a flash of light. And this is happening sort of all over. It's like almost as if they were like fireflies the size of eagles exploding, just sort of around in the area. But this is all happening high above you. I'd say like 200 or 300 feet in the air. And so you're starting to hear these explosions of light, and some of the people are starting to scatter away. Nobody is, they don't know what's happening, and they're worried about it. But
I'm gonna go with the flow and keep trying to like pump everybody up and
okay,
yeah, everybody get back to your holes. Yeah, that's good.
okay. There's some indecision among the mob. Many of these people are probably just starving at this point and unwilling to flee. But you do manage to convince several of them to run off, and you've somewhat diminished the problem of you being encircled. Because now there's more confusion amongst the ranks of villagers and so forth. Okay, so while this is happening, you hear again the flutter of wings, and you see something dark, about the size of a cat, like the one on the screen right here, flutters by a bunch of you, and it flies over the heads of the sort of now 13 men who are armed with hoes and pickaxes and so forth, and flies over the heads of your party. And as you look over your shoulders, you see what seems to be like a bat or something. It's hard to tell in the dark, but it flies towards the cluster of people who are throwing stones at you and trying to work up the nerve to attack, and it bursts into flames. Cons, you recognize this. It's almost like a small...
The bat bursts into flames.
The bat bursts into flames. It just starts to make this hissing, whining sound, flies into a group of people, and bursts into flames. So, caught in the fireball are probably 2 or 3 of the people who are throwing rocks at you, and they are engulfed, set ablaze, and start running around, shrieking.
Sweet. So I'm going to say, I said, everybody back to your holes.
Okay, now panic is sort of overtaking the scene right here, and you see more explosions in the sky. It's almost like bursting fireballs all over the place, and some of these are flying towards the citadel, and you start to see lights flashing over the ramparts there and against the big steeple that's there. It seems like there are a ton of these fire bats flying into everything. You see no like rhyme or reason. They just seem to target like clusters of motion, fly into them, and explode.
Have we seen this type of creature before?
This is completely new to all of you. Not even in stories, as far as you know.
Does it seem new to the people that are being attacked as
yes,
well? Like
they
the
are.
Civilians?
They are at this point shrieking and in a very high state of alarm. And many people are running in every direction. One of the 15 right there, the guy with the burnt neck, screams, "They brought this upon us. Let's get them!" He rushes forward at 4 of you, but it seems like only about half of the guys are running along with him, right? And when he realizes that they are not on board, right, that he only has like 2 or 3 people with him, he loses his spirit and runs off, shrieking into the night. And he's followed by the few people who had the courage to follow him. So it looks like the whole mob is being dispersed. But as this is going on, one of the bats flies towards the lot of you, and you hear a whining sound. So I need a dexterity for everybody here. What's your...
Okay.
Tell me your dexterity.
Mine is 16.
16. What do you got, Angie?
15.
15. Logic?
Hey.
16.
16. Zartet?
13.
That was some dexterous motherfuckers. And it's because of that that just about all of you are able to leap out of the way and suffer only like a minor singeing and a little bit of hair burning and so forth as one of the fire bats flaps down and bursts into flames amongst the lot of you. When it explodes, you can smell kind of like a sulfurous brimstone smell, and you're starting to see in the dry grasses and everything, fires are beginning all over the place, and you can see fire just starting to spread amongst the buildings of the Blackrock Stockade. Like at least one of the structures there is on fire.
Fire in the castle?
Yeah, there's fire in the castle there.
Fire in the castle!
Is that...
The kamikaze bats?
Yeah, that's fuck. All right, man, we gotta get the fuck
Okay.
out of here.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. They're bursting into flame, but are they surviving the process?
They are not surviving the process. Yeah, it looks like each of them swells up just before they explode, and just explodes in some kind of fire thing. And as you're seeing them flying, it's kind of like
Well, that's
similar.
good.
It's similar to how the seagulls are flying kind of awkwardly. It's like they're trying to fly with too much weight. Like this is not what nature designed them for. This is an aberration. So, as the fire.
We should get the fuck out.
Yeah.
I'm following Angie.
Okay,
Well,
so Angie.
Or we could take
yeah.
advantage of this and get as close to the wall, because there's no structures. So if we get as close to the wall as possible, you know what I mean? We would at least
Well,
have some.
Yeah, but they already think that we're like witches,
Mhm.
and they're scared of us. And also now these things are lighting on fire right after we just approached the castle. So I don't know.
I think we should scream out that these are our bats, and we go like, "Fuck you, motherfuckers!" and then we skip town, and everyone thinks we're the baddest 4 motherfuckers ever.
I mean,
Well, I did just say to get
enticing.
out of here because the bats are coming.
Zartet said it was enticing.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I mean, it's. We're not wielding this power though. I mean, that's kind of. I don't think.
But they don't know that.
Yeah, but there's also, I mean, they're drawn to movement. If we start moving towards that, are we gonna get hit by a kamikaze bat? Like, I don't know. Maybe
We
we should
almost
go
just went-
away.
It's best not to blaspheme and just run.
I have invisibility, so at least one of us won't be targeted.
You are
So
blind and
that's kind of my
dying.
point. But that's kind of my point, is that the only near structure that we have might be the wall of the city, as
Yeah,
far
this
as I
is
can tell. Unless
the city is
there's another-
the city is the only real outpost for probably about 10 or 15 miles in any direction.
But it is
So
on fire.
If
Parts of it are on fire.
it is, which means that they're definitely not going to be shooting at us if we seek refuge
good
against the
point.
wall or up against
If
the
we can
gate.
get in and we're not blighted, we should be okay, right?
Let's just
These
make
people are
everything
assholes. They shot me 4 times.
They just shoot
Well,
four
you
times.
kind of deserved it.
Yeah.
No, I
mean-
didn't. I'm nice. Look at me. I'm a nice guy.
Okay, let me give you an idea of what's happening right now. So you're starting to see swirls of these fire bats really converging on the citadel in a spiral. And the moon is finally rising. So you're starting to get an idea of what's happening. It seems like the moon has emerged from
Is
us.
my silver ring doing anything at this moon?
At the moment, no. as it has not done anything for these many
I'm
adventures.
shocked. I'm shocked your ring isn't doing anything, Zartet.
However,
Is the goblet doing anything?
so
It's the goblet.
the goblet has done nothing but sit in Kunz's jock for this entire time and draw
bad luck.
weird stares for the entire time. But what you're seeing is sort of, you can see these flares in the sky exploding over the citadel. And when these bats explode, there's a lot of sort of fluids and charred remains and ashes and so forth that litter the area that they fall on. Yeah, it's a very dirty process, and it's anything but pleasant for you to smell.
And
Because
presumably blighted.
potentially, as the moon is rising, you notice, caught in the moonlight, a much larger form, like a bat-winged form, but this is much bigger than the other bats, and it is flying around the citadel, right? Sort of circling around it, and from time to time, you can see bowmen on the barricades and on the walls, trying to take shots at this. It is much larger than a person. I think its wingspan is probably around, from here. It seems like it's like a 20-foot wingspan on this thing.
Jeez.
So
Is it just something I'm wondering? Is this wall or gate scalable for me, who has like a 60% incline walls, just naturally?
you think you took a look at it while Kunz was getting shot up. It is probably something that's doable under ideal conditions. Maybe a little bit more difficult when flaming bats are exploding all around you, because they really are converging on the keep right here, and it seems like it's a direct attack.
Just a side question. We're all still level 5, right? We didn't level up.
You did not level up. You're a quarter of the way to level 6.
Could you cast web up at them?
My web, I believe, is at 12,000 cubic feet, so I can web a lot. Like, that's a huge area.
Yeah, it's a big area.
That's a football stadium's worth of area.
Okay. While you guys
Do you
are
want
waiting
fucking
around,
exploding rats?
you see the winged figure land on the wall. It finds an area where there aren't many bowmen or what have you there, and it lands and then begins to it lands there, and you can see men are running towards it and attempting to like running at it with spears and swords and so forth. This thing looks like it's maybe about 12 feet tall. It's some kind of monster, but it seems to, when it lands, it walks around on 2 legs like a man.
Whoa.
Can we leave?
You could totally run away if you feel like it. But
Yeah,
now you're
I
starting to
think
hear
this,
cries from the battlement, and you can see
those are
soldiers
all your
running up
homies, though,
towards it.
right?
Yeah, as soldiers are running up to attack it, they are just getting like picked up and hurled off of the battlements to just break like toys on the ground below. It seems to be powerful, whatever it is, and the defenders don't seem like they're a match for it.
I say we leave, head towards where we were going, also shouting to all those rat people and shit, we did this, don't fuck with us.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Those are all
I am
your
with this
homies.
plan.
Okay.
Those are all your homies in the Citadel.
Yeah, there are
Those are-
probably people that you know in the Citadel, but they may be done for there. Okay.
All right.
All right. So you would like to try and retreat from this scene of slaughter and try to run towards the east, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So in the general confusion, the party heads off towards the east, and they're just all opposition has run from you. The night of the fire bats has just been terrible for everybody. So people are running in every direction. You see people that have fallen and just been scorched. You see people running off of the hills on fire, and as they're running around, they're spreading the fire. Seagrasses are catching ablaze, and the Bills aren't even playing. Lit up, fuck out of here.
That's a bad team, too.
They're dissing his team. LOL.
They're not even bad. They won yesterday.
Oh, did they win? Oh, good for the Bills.
That's better than the Chiefs.
I don't watch Ameriball, but I'm happy that your teams are winning and or losing. All right, so you march off into the night, and you are hearing just terrible screams coming from the Blackrock Stockade, and whatever beast has landed there seems to be too much for the defenders to deal with. The fuck is this?
A Josh Allen cereal.
It's a Buffalo Bills cereal.
Wow. Wow. How thematic. Get the fuck out of here, Lita.
Sorry, go on. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. So anyhow, it seems, and more bats are converging. So it seems like the last bastion of these people is falling. And as you are retreating to the east, no one really stops you. But you hear the sound of the steeple collapsing, and the entire...
Fuck your steeple.
Yeah.
Fuck you people.
The entire Blackrock Stockade is ablaze, and it looks like they are done for. Okay, so you
Maybe
all...
it's better that way.
It's just sad emotions. Sad emotions.
So you all retreat towards the east, and right now, you're all very tired. But how far do you want to try and walk before you try to seek shelter? How far are you going to try and get away from the stockade? What's your decision?
The moonlight is up, correct?
The moon is up, right?
That's great.
So right now you guys are traveling on the highway. but you don't have torches or lights or anything. So it's fairly easy to see you guys for anybody that's hiding in bushes or whatever.
In my advanced age, would I be aware of like any kind of out of the way villages or plots of land that people are farming or something like that I
Well,
might know?
before all this befell the island, you would have had like a pretty decent idea of places that you could stay and so forth. But the landscape has changed so radically, even to the point where groves of trees that have been there for generations are gone now, felled by the red rain. And the landscape is almost unrecognizable to you. You know that there's a forest to the south where from time to time, like once it was a good place to go and find forest apples, and like a lot of mushrooms grew there. And it was a place where you've done like a lot of gathering, but you're a little worried to see it now. You're not sure. So to give you an idea of the landscape here, so there's a forest just to the south of you. There are more sort of hills and rocky mesas and so forth to the north of the highway. Beneath, like once you get through the forest to the south, there are some hills and mountains, and on the other side of it, the climate gets fairly tropical there, and there are a lot of swamps and palmettos and just a few tribes that live there. That basically subsistence people who just do a lot of fishing and shrimping and general like gathering in the swamps down there. And it's like pretty crocodile infested, as you recall. Along the path to Vorabrink, there's not much until you reach Vorabrink, which is about 20 leagues away from here. No, I'm sorry, not 20 leagues, about 20 miles from where you are right now. So it's a good day's march from where you are to Vorabrink. Yeah, you'd be hard pressed to find shelter anywhere along the way.
No inns or taverns or anything.
Even along,
Vorabrink.
or even just a wood line.
So there is a forest to the south from here.
Glitch.
Yeah. Oh, I was getting bit by a cat. So there's a forest a little bit to the south, and there used to be some cabins and like some lodges and places where hunters and so forth would gather. Now, difficult to say what's become of it. Essentially, yeah, Blackrock Stockade is really the spot where you stop and stop for the night. And there used to be inns and there used to be structures around it, but now little is left of it but a smoldering ruin.
I don't think we have a choice but to head for at least a wood line. I mean, a cluster of trees or even a ruin or anything.
Okay.
So yeah, like we're essentially just looking for a camp or like make a set camp so we can all rest.
Okay, you're looking for any kind of shelter, and how distant do you want to get from, like how far do you want to walk away from the ruins of the stockade?
As far as you can.
As far as you can? Because you could, you can march.
So I was thinking about that too, like just marching all fucking night.
Okay.
Past the point of no return, so.
Well, it's up to you. How far you want to try and march?
We need to get away from the scary people by the fucking thing.
Yeah, I think we should get far enough away from danger, but so we can sleep and get a good night's rest and recharge and heal.
Okay. So it sounds to me like you're gonna try to get at least a couple of miles, maybe like 4 or 5 miles away from it.
That sounds good.
Okay, so that's about a good hour of walking in the midnight. So you set off walking along the highway, and you can see one thing that you're noticing: all the people that took off running and ran, most of them are running north or west. Almost nobody is following you in the direction of Vorabrink. So for a little bit, like a few confused people are like on the path, but before too much longer, they turn away. Maybe they don't want you guys to run them down. But yeah, it seems like nobody else is really going in this direction. So
We should definitely proceed extremely carefully.
okay.
Like literally not just like road marching down the road, but like a tactical, even if it takes twice as long, a tactical movement along the road or even off the road.
Okay.
Yeah, escorting a blind man.
Yeah, Kuntz, at this point, with it being as dark as it is right now, just you just have moonlight to see by and so forth. You're effectively blind at the moment. Your eyes are starting to feel like a little bit better, but everything is so blurry. It's very difficult to see in the dark. Okay, so you guys are marching in a tactical fashion, trying to get some distance away from what's happened here. I need to know what order you are marching in. Who's at the front, who's at the back, and who's in the middle?
I'm at the front with my listen
I'll be
and
next.
sneak and
Okay. So Logic is scouting ahead. Angie, where are you at?
I'm behind Logic, but close enough to Kuntz and I'm assuming Zartet to watch
Yeah.
over Kuntz.
Yeah, who
Help
Zartet?
him
Are
out.
you helping Kuntz kind of stagger along here? Because without help, one of you has to be helping him to walk at this point.
Yeah.
Here,
be,
I'll double help.
Okay.
I'll double help.
Okay, so the two of you are with Kuntz. Logic is scouting ahead a little bit, just moving kind of carefully and quietly, scouting ahead. So what is that listen score, Logic?
right now my detect noise is a 45%.
Sweet.
Okay, you don't hear anything. So you proceed for some ways up the road, and it's almost starting to get kind of eerily quiet. From time to time, you'll see like a wayward firebat fly off, but it just seems like these are stragglers, and just really there's no rhyme or reason to the way that they act. You can only see them moving in like a general way, but the firebats themselves just seem very like there's no more sense to them than like a firefly or whatever. They don't have like the direction, because bats usually know where they're flying. They're hunters, right? So this is another thing that seems wrong to you. So you move along the way, and one of the things that you're noticing is that it's dead quiet. There are no insects singing out. There are no birds. There are no night animals. All you can really hear is the wind, and that's not what you would normally hear in this area. You know, there should be crickets. There should be night birds. You should hear foxes moving around. None of that is happening here. Everything is just silent, except for the occasional rustling of the wind and the swaying of the grass, and it is definitely
Yeah, I'm
unnerving.
gonna notice that. I guess notice that what I'm hearing is not hearing anything, and stop the party and consult.
Okay.
Like what's the layout of the landscape here? Are
Okay.
there trees on either side? Like what's if I'm supposed to hear animals, what kind?
Yeah.
Are we just talking about
Okay.
scattered lava rocks and coyotes, or are we what's?
Yeah, so this area gets like a little bit more. Normally, it would be slightly more wooded than sort of the plains that you were on there previously, but there are no trees left. From here and there, you'll see a stump or like a patch of dead shrubs and so forth. But almost everywhere you look, it's just the earth is dyed red, and everything is dead. And just sort of an increasing smell of sulfur is increasing. It feels like you're marching into hell.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm gonna look at the people, rest of the party behind me, and sort of gesture, like, hey, you guys notice that?
Yeah.
No, because I'm blind.
Yeah, he just-
I describe everything to Kuntz. What's going
Thank
on?
you, Zartet.
Okay. So you march another. You hear that it's silent here, and as you march, you have to march almost 5 miles to get to the point where there's any shelter whatsoever. As you make it like about 5 miles along the highway, all of you are dead tired, right? And there's something about the eerie silence where you're just really hearing the desolation across the land. It's starting to wear on you. And about that deep in, Zartet, you remember that there are some caves. So you're getting close to the shoreline on the northern part of the island. I guess about a quarter of the way to Vorabrink. So you're aware that there are some caves to the northern part of the island that are along the sea, kind of similar to the caves where you found all the stolen weapons for Bisbees and so forth. So you could attempt to spend the night in some of these sea caves that are, I would say, about a quarter-mile march to the dune there. So you could attempt to shelter there, but it's tough to say what's happened since you went there last.
I mean, that's our best shot.
Yeah, it's your
Should
best shot.
probably go
Like,
there.
otherwise, the other shelter would be heading south towards the woods and just trying to sleep in the woods. But okay, so the four of you make for these caves. You said 40% logic.
45 for
45.
detect noise.
Okay. Logic, you and only you hear wings in the night. Once again, and it's not a lot of them, just one set of wings, as if, and you're hearing it from time to time as you're moving along, right? Almost as if you're being followed. But when you look up and try to see the source of it, you see nothing.
Okay, I'm assuming that as we've been traveling and we come to bends in the road or whatever, that, I'm peering around the corner waiting for them to catch up, that we're reasonably spaced. I'm going to wait until one of these moments when we would normally be clustered together, sort of, and pass along the word that I've been hearing some wings following us. So as not to appear suspicious and be like, hey, man,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah, something is flying overhead. Okay, the message is clear there. So they're warned, but you don't see any sign of whatever is flying overhead as you go along the way. And you make it to the sea caves. Ugh, fucking league. So you make it to the sea caves. So you get to, this is the northern coast of Morian. And what you see is, as you get closer to the caves, there... Check out this bat. That's fucking amazing.
Need some fire.
Yeah.
He's just going to add it in a second here. You're in backcountry right there. So as you're moving towards the caves, you start to smell the scent of rot. And it's not like a normal ocean rot, like seaweed and decaying and bacteria. When you get to the beaches, which here would normally be like white sand stretching for a long period of time, it's almost as if there is just rust creeping up the beaches, just bright red, and it's like a red tide. And the beach just has thousands and thousands of dead fish. It's a low tide right now, and so many dead fish have been left behind. So you find the sea caves that Zartet
Is the
remembered.
tide...
The tide is down.
Is the high tide level... Okay, but is the high tide level above the caves that we're going to sleep in?
No, these are not caves that would flood with the tide. He's working on it.
That's not a good sign.
Yeah. No. So what I'm saying is that these caves are set up in the dunes, just sort of like a rocky face that's along there. They're back a bit. Normally they would not flood. Maybe in a hurricane or something. So if there's not a hurricane, you should be safe to sleep there. But it's dark in these caves, and you're not sure who or what may be sheltering therein. Do you want to scout them out? How do you want to check? How do you want to proceed?
Good question. I mean, I can go scout into one of these caves.
You're good at that.
Yeah. And move silent.
I'll guard
listen to
Coons.
stuff.
Okay, you're gonna keep him from doing anything untoward. Okay, so Logic, you are headed into the caves to scout it out and see what's happening. And
Angie,
then
you want to like follow me in just to keep me in eyesight, just in case anything happens. You know?
Yeah, I
Do-
want to stay close.
okay, do you guys want to have any weapons ready as this is going on? Like, do you want to have bows drawn or?
Yeah. For
I have
sure.
my bow out just to be safe. I'll be
Short
from
sword.
behind.
Angie, how many arrows do you have left?
9.
Okay, 9 arrows. And then Logic, what weaponry?
Pretty sure Angie's made that up. I have
No,
40,
I have
40
keeping track,
arrows.
yes.
Okay, sorry.
Keeping track.
Sorry, Glitch. Did I just kick you? My bad.
Yeah, this is
She's
listen
by
to
my
this,
feet. I didn't know that.
listen to this cat kicking piece of
Feels my
shit,
shorts,
doubting
though.
the number of arrows that Angie has. She's a ranger. She's
Yeah.
trustworthy.
And cats.
Okay. All right. So Logic, what weapon do you have on hand?
My short sword. I have
short
my
sword?
short sword handy, and I have still a dagger.
Okay.
I find
So
it.
you're attempting to sneak into a dark cave in the middle of the night. Let's see. Okay. So you creep as silently as you possibly can, and you explore into the caves, and finally you come to a place where you can no longer see inside of the caves. You can see in the sand some footprints, but it's difficult to tell how recent they are. Just there's not enough light to really see how fresh these tracks are. So you get to the point where you can't see anything else inside of the cave. There's not enough moonlight. So if you can't make a light, then you don't know what's deeper inside the cave. But you're, I want to say, about 50 feet into the cave and still going back before you run out of light.
Well, I guess I couldn't ask that.
You can ask anything you
Can you
want, yeah.
hear anything?
Well, yeah, or
You
if
better ask him.
does any spellcaster have a light-like spell where it could cast light on a rock and continually throw this thing down the
No.
hallway?
No. I don't
Well-
think either of them brought light, but
That is a spell, but I don't have it.
I could cure light wounds.
What is the cave
That's not
dimension?
the
Same thing.
okay.
Which you know,
So this cave rises up
100%
pretty
better.
tall. So at the entrance, it's kind of a small chuck hole, right? It's only about 7 or 8 feet tall, and the rocks are like fairly jagged inside. There's a coating of fine sand that's been blown in from the beach that extends in for about 20 or 30 feet. And then
I can cast. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, by all means. So the cave rises a little bit as it goes in, so to where the ceiling is about 15 feet above. Inside of the cave, you can see, like along the walls, spots where birds have nested. But for the most part, this is just a crevice, and you don't see a lot of signs of anything living here. You do see what might be tracks. Like at some point, somebody has stayed here, but they've been blown by the wind. You're not sure how old they are.
I have a
How big's the
question,
entrance to this
cunts.
cave?
The entrance to the
Yeah.
cave is about 6 or 7 feet tall. But as soon as you walk, and it's kind of low for a little bit, and then gradually moves up to about 15 feet tall or so. The cave is fairly narrow. It's only about 6 feet wide at the entrance and widens out a little bit as you go in, but it's never much wider than about 10 feet. And it's not straight either. The cave kind of, is like back and forth a little bit, and it seems to be hooking to the left at the point where you just run out of light logic and you can't see anything else. But as far as you can see, there's nothing dangerous there, and you don't hear any sound inside.
I like it. We could hear anybody coming.
I can always cast Fireball on a group of wood and set that on fire.
Or
Yeah.
we could cast
Oh,
web further
sleep.
down the tunnel.
It's a block.
Yeah, we could cast
You could
web and
blindly
fill the
catch it.
tunnel with web, and that way it's basically blocked.
You could also light a torch and go inside, or just
Yeah.
My next question was, how do we construct a torch with a
Can
fire
we
on the
make
beach?
fire? Can I just
Yeah.
light one of my arrows on fire and hold
You
it?
you
Like-
could light an arrow on fire and try to fight it back. There's enough driftwood and so forth on the beach that you can
Alright.
rig together a torch, and each of you is capable of just lighting it with like a flint and steel or what have you. You know.
So that's what I think we're gonna do.
Okay.
Let's get some torches.
All right, so you rig together a torch, and you're on the beach gathering up material for firewood and so forth. You
Keeping an eye to the sky for this bat figure.
Okay, it's good that you're being alert to that because there was definitely a sound happening there. Okay, so once you gather together material for torches, Logic, you and Angie scout inside of the cave, and you can see that the cave hooks to the left, and you start to smell like this very sort of faint, sweetish smell of rot. As you explore the cave, you find two bodies of two men who have stabbed each other to death. They're sort of like off to the left. Both of them were very, very skinny, and now they have mostly been eaten by crabs. You can just see like
They have any cool gear.
the skittering.
Do they have any valuables?
So, hold on just a second. So, you can see the knives that they stabbed each other with. So, these are like one of them looks like a kitchen knife. The other seems to be a fairly cheap dagger. Like nothing special about it as far as you can see. These men both looked before the crabs got to them like they were already pretty skinny and in rough shape there. Their clothes are mostly in tatters. One of them has a rope for a belt, and you can't see any sign of what they stabbed each other over. Nor can you see like one of them has what looks like a bindle leaned up against the wall, so that's untouched. But the other one has a sack, and when you go to search the knapsack, a bunch of crabs come skittering out. There's little tiny ones though. So
What's in the bindle?
doing a search through, you take a look at the bag first because it's closest at hand, and literally there's nothing but rags, like an old piece of broken glass,
Rags
almost-
are useful.
yeah,
You can add it.
yeah.
Is this the end of the cave, though?
Yeah, this is the end of the cave. This is just sort of an area where it's inside of the cave. Nothing really lives here, as far as you can tell.
Are they shitty like sand crabs, or are they like?
They're
Can I stab crabs? Can we eat them?
they're too little to eat. They're like this little. They're about the size of a coin, right there.
Can we throw them on a pond and make them skip like flat rocks?
You could skip them across the ocean if you weren't blind.
Oh.
You can't.
Okay. So, scouting through the Bindle logic, you find that whatever used to be in here has completely rotted. It looked like they had a few potatoes here, and they've just gone bad and rotted. And there were some papers in this thing at some point, but they've completely been spoiled by the potatoes that have rotted and started to sprout inside and decayed. So nothing much of use there. Inside the thing, you find a little religious trinket, right? But it's just the sort of idol that people give out on festival days and so forth. It's made of tin and probably of no great value. So yeah, not a lot to be
I'll
had
take it
here.
anyways.
Okay, so you're going to take the the religious icon of the penny priests. Okay, is the name of this little tin insignia there. Okay, you do not see any danger within. You scout around, and you don't see any traps, no signs, nowhere where anybody could pop out and jump at you. So the four of you make camp inside of this cave.
Can I track the bodies like to the entrance? So
Okay.
that if there's like any goals or
Yeah.
anything, like they'll go for those
I'll help-
bodies and
I'll
be
help
like,
do that.
okay.
So you can try to, but they're at a they're
dead
pretty crab
at
eaten
that
and so
point?
forth. As you're trying to move them out of there, they're starting to come apart. Like there's almost nothing holding these guys together. You would
Ugh.
estimate that they died probably about a month ago. So they've been sitting here for a while. Like they don't even. It's not even that they smell terrible at
Wait,
any
was
point.
that before? Was that before all this started happening a month ago?
It might be, right? Because when you're looking at these guys, you don't see any sign of them mutating or anything. This might have just
Right.
been like a lover's quarrel or something like this. Two guys stabbing each other in a cave. But yeah, you don't see any sign of corruption among these two. But they are very, very dead, and the bodies are just coming apart as you're trying to move them. You could bury them if you wanted to. It's sandy enough here.
Yeah, just shovel sand on them.
Yeah, you can
Do they
easily
have
cover
any
them.
tattoos?
You don't see any tattoos and so forth. If you want to get down and dirty, you can strip off their clothes and check out their.
Yes. I want to strip off their clothes.
Okay.
You can't
I'm
even
blind.
see.
I can't do it.
Yeah, you
Angie,
can't do
strip
it.
off their clothes for me.
In any case, let's outside of these two dead bums, who you shovel sand over, there doesn't seem to be that much else to the cave. So you decide that you can stay here and rest. Are you going to set up like an order of watch, or are you just all going to try and sleep?
We most certainly are.
Okay. Who is
Well,
going to take watch?
guess who's not on first watch?
Yeah.
The blind guy.
I would assume
Yeah,
so.
I'll take first watch.
Okay. All right. So all of you set up a sequence of watch and try to get some much-needed rest in the sea cave to the very east or to the west of Warbrink. All right. We have more adventure yet to come, but everybody, let's take a break real quick and grab a drink.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Gotta pee.
Thank you, Zartan.
Ears.
That's a nice fire bat you were able to come up with quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. It's pretty rad.
And it's all like Creative Commons images, so
Oh yeah, because you would never pirate or copyright infringe any material ever.
no, I just don't want the stream to get flagged.
I'm sure there's no way in hell it would get flagged if you use somebody's Getty image.
All right, I'll be right back.
See it?
Hmm.
You back?
I'm back.
Yes.
Fireback country. Look at this character. He's flying around. Oh. Oh. That dog is so happy.
Dude, I don't know why he won't lay on the couch while I'm doing this. I sit on the floor because it's just easier for the camera angle, I guess. But like, he just sleeps right here on the floor. He won't sit on the couch. I'm like, you fucking weirdo.
He wants to chill with you. Yeah, like that. I like flipped to pound LRH, and it's a giant ASCII of a dog fucking a dude with a micro penis. While
Is
taking-
it really? Oh my god!
While taking a shit.
What really happened?
This is-
Wow, link me.
That's an old. He just took like an old ASCII about Leku and then made it about Rondito. I don't like that. I think you just need to make your own anti-Rondito ASCIIs.
Who's
But he
Rondito
was
again? He's been in the
funny.
channel a while.
Yeah,
I just can't
Rondito
remember.
is supposed to be my best friend.
He's just like a
Ron Dino is?
yeah. He's a convict who chats a tremendous amount.
Hell yeah.
He's super anti-drug
Mhm.
until he gets super high.
Yeah, he like legit has bipolar disorder, but he's a nice guy. Like honestly, but until he's not a nice guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't
I love
remember
Rondito.
anything bad about Rondito.
But I
He
think
has
the
been
Askies are
chatting.
hilarious. I'm sorry.
The-
Who's
yeah.
making all the Askies?
So
And I don't know why,
it's
but
a-
they're so funny.
It's DeLorean and G are just like on the warpath of making these ASCIIs. I think DeLorean is making like the funny ones with like the weird open mouth dude or whatever. Yeah, like I don't
The one in space. Oh,
know. He got mad at me because I kept cracking up at him during LRH. I'm like, I can't stop. They're
funny.
funny. Yeah. It's fucking. Oh.
Jupiter made a couple Askies of me getting like the fucking AIDS test, and after I started dating Lit Up, like he was like, "Oh, your AIDS is positive," blah blah blah, and he like redid the ASCII, and it's so fucking funny as shit to me.
Yeah, you gotta live that life. All right. So let's get down to it. We don't have a ton more adventure left, but we have a little left. Okay. So let's find out exactly how this goes down. Ooh. So logic, you don't hear anything out of the ordinary, but you're so tired after walking so far and everything. You're doing your absolute best here, but you're not at the top of your game. And finally, you are forced to fall asleep and let Angie take her turn at the watch. So Angie, you have also weary. You've taken like some terrible wounds here and so forth, and it's very difficult to make it through your allotted time. And then
Like a puppy.
he's going crazy. he's getting like he's just farming XP off of that rabbit.
Good shit.
Mila's just chilling. That's hilarious. So anyhow, you make it through your stretch, and towards the end of your period, you decide that you're going to go and take a look outside of the cave before you wake Zartet up, right? So with
Can
your
you like move silently or whatever?
oh yeah, everything that you're doing here, you're just being as quiet as possible, right? So you knock an arrow to your bow, just in case you're surprised, and with Bisbee's blade close at hand, and go to take a look at what's happening outside on the beach. The moon is almost down at this point. Everybody's been sleeping for a long time, and the smell of something is just so wrong with how the beach smells. You've been on beaches before where fish wash up, and it's just like a part of the thing. But just so many things have died here, and there's just this weird tang in the air. And as you're thinking about it, you notice that there is a bird, like a relatively large bird, standing on the sand, looking at the cave, right? This looks like it's a giant stork, black in color, and the bird is just staring at your cave. Now, so storks have like a big, pointy beak, and it has kind of like the craned neck, like a heron or whatever.
For delivering babies.
It doesn't have a bundle of babies or anything, but it's definitely got its eye on you, and it doesn't seem spooked as you approach. But the black stork is staring at the cave, and as you take a closer look, you can see that it's an older bird, right? Like you can see where its feathers are kind of grayed and mottled, and as it turns its head in the light, you can see that one of its eyes is milky white, right? And the bird just looks like a little bit bedraggled, right? Like maybe it's been in some scuffles recently, but it's not doing anything. It's just kind of staring at the cave. And when it sees you looking at it, it like lifts up its head a little bit, but continues to stare.
It's blighted though, right?
It looks older, and one of its eyes is definitely blind.
Can
But
I make friends with it?
you could certainly try to. Yeah. Do you want to attempt to befriend the bird?
Yes.
Okay. Oof.
Doesn't sound good, Angie.
Okay, so you lower your bow and walk closer to the bird, making kind of like calming noises, all the while ready to. You're not taking the arrow out of the nock, right? You're ready to take a shot at this guy if it does anything untoward. And as you get a closer look, you can see that it's very, very large. This is like a giant stork, but you don't see any of the things that you've seen with the other corrupted creatures. No scales, no tendrils, no extra eyes or anything like that. But as you approach, the bird kind of haughtily raises its head and then takes wing and flies away from you. So you're not able to befriend it. Something about your approach it didn't like. So it takes wing and then flies off. You can just see it circling around a little bit, and then it lands back on the beach, maybe like 100 feet away from you, and then continues to look at the cave.
Can I try again?
You think if you tried again, you would see the same result. Like you know quite a bit about animals, and this one just doesn't seem to like you. It's not like flighty or anything. It just yeah, you did not succeed in your attempt to befriend it.
All right. Well, I guess I'll go back to the cave and.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
that's right. She's scouting right now. Never mind.
Yeah. Okay. So as this goes down, you decide you've had enough of this bird and return to the cave to wake Zartet for his shift at guard duty. And so Zartet, like, yeah, you there's nothing going on here.
Does she tell me about the bird?
It's up to her.
Wait, yeah. Be like, yo, I tried to make friends with this bird. It doesn't like me though.
All right.
Strange. It wasn't hostile.
No. Seemed cool.
Was it big and yellow?
Yellow?
No, it's not Big Bird.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
got it.
No.
Got it.
Can you tell me how to get to Vorabrink? Fucking metal. All right. So Zartet, the hours are passing without much happening there. So you have an option. You basically you're keeping watch at the mouth of the cave so that you'll see anybody that shows up. And when you go to look out, you do not see any kind of bird or whatever. you a little bit wonder if Angie was just imagining it there. But so as the hours go on, you're starting to see daylight come up, and you're beginning to think that it might be best if all of you just camped out here and recovered for another day and so forth. Kuntz's injuries are bad. Everybody is fairly harmed. You're potentially considering that you might need to camp here another day just to recoup because of the severity of people's injuries. It even has a white eye. That's pretty amazing. So as you're trying to figure out, like, what can you do? Should we have done anything differently back at the stockade? And all this is running through your mind. You see that the sun is starting to come up, and you head outside the cave to take a look and see if you can see some sign of the bird. And now the black stork is there once again. Man, you're just beset by creatures here. Good lord, look at this character. He's got like bats and storks and all kinds of things flying around him.
Badass looking stork, though.
So you can see the black stork waiting for you, and right away you know that this is another druid who's in the form of a stork here. What's going on? What's going on?
No,
man?
I just fucking knew it. I
Right.
just knew it was another
I didn't
shapeshifting.
volunteer.
Yeah, this island is rife with shapeshifters. So you recognize a member of the Druidic Order, and from the look of this one, you have not met him before, but it's got to be one of the elders. The stork is like very, very old. So it's up to you. How you choose to approach? The stork is waiting for you to act.
Well, I like bow my head towards him, like in recognition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can I try to like speak to him in Druidic?
Yes, you can absolutely speak Druidic there. So we'll assume that your conversation is taking part in Druidic, and that it cannot be overheard by Angie. And all these guys are dead asleep there. They're tired. So the stork motions you to come over, and begins to shed its form, but it does so very slowly and painfully. You can see that this is a very, very old druid, and he has to be almost to the end of his life. Because as you know, as druids get much older, they stop aging. But this one is just ancient. And you start thinking of which of the eldermost druids this could possibly be.
Oh, is he an archdruid?
You don't know. You have never met this guy before. So it takes quite a period there, but he manages to attain human form, and when he does, he's an old man, blind in one eye, with a long white beard, a little bit stooped over, and he starts to climb up the dunes, up the beach towards you, and just every step seems to cause him pain. Right? He has seen some shit, essentially, and eventually, you just walk over to meet him so that he doesn't have to walk quite as far. And he, as you approach, he says, "I don't recognize you. What is your name?"
My name is Zartet of Farm Goodberry.
That Goodberry Farm.
Mm-hmm.
So he asks you a series of questions, and you answer. He asks to know, like, who inducted you into the order. He asks like many questions about your whole thing, and it's established between the two of you who inducted you into the Druidic sect, and you find that he is from far, far south in Iran. He has come here. He explains to you that he has come here from about 2,000 miles away, that he's flown to get here, and he's been flying for weeks to reach the place because he heard word of a disturbance and he wanted to see it for himself. And he tells you how he's been flying around the island and observing the things that are happening, and how he's flown over the Darameus and has seen what he calls like sort of the eye of the hurricane there. He says that the Darameus is the source of all the corruption that he's seen. And he introduces himself as Visanthus, the Winged. And when he says his name, this is somebody that you've heard stories about, somebody that has done a great number of deeds that are widely sung of throughout the land. He's also thought to be one of the, like he's not you wouldn't call him the archdruid there, because among druids he's a little bit of an outcast, because he favors things like destroying settlements that encroach too deep on the wild. He leans more towards the natural order than the balance than most druids would accept. He's a little bit more chaotic than some of the others there. But Visanthus the Winged stands before you. Probably one of the more famous druids in the history of Iran.
Did he know Marion?
Marion, he recognizes the name immediately, and wants to know how you knew him, and like asks how he is.
I'm sorry, he didn't make it.
We didn't.
He was beset by legionnaires while in bear form.
Well, he seems confused.
True form.
Yeah, when he seems confused when you say that he didn't make it. He's like, but it's Marion.
Oh.
Didn't you just return him to the sea?
Yeah. Oh, yes, we did.
Yeah, he'll be back. You know, every time that he's slain, he spends a few decades reforming himself as an anemone, spreading himself among the water. And when he's done playing in the water, he'll take on a human form again and return to serve once more. You know,
I didn't know that about Marion.
we're not so easily defeated as all that. So he wants to know what you've found out about the situation, and you recall all the things that you've seen thus far about it. And he takes on the information that you've told him, the news about the destruction of Blackrock Citadel, and the bat creature that you saw, and the different types of gulls that you've seen. And that looks amazing in the background right there. It's getting like pretty fucking epic right here, Zartad. But he takes all this in, and his expression clouds, and it's clear that things have gotten even worse than he thought that they had. He says, I thought they would be able to hold out longer there. Those were the last soldiers on the island. And so now all these refugees will just move unfettered into the other parts of the land, spreading the corruption. And he says, I saw the bats that you saw exploding all over the place. Every one of those, where it explodes, it spreads the blight underneath it. Everything that breathes in those ashes, everything that's touched by that fire or that foulness falls on, will be blighted, right? And
is there any stopping it? Is there any hope for this land?
He tells you, I flew over the Darameus. There's a great rift there. It seems like a comet or a falling star struck it right in the right where the three paths converge, and now there's a great rift there. So I flew over it, but I didn't. All kinds of creatures are issuing out of it. Like anything that flies in there comes out changed irreparably. And he tells you that he observed it for as long as he dared, and then he was attacked by wings of monster gulls. But from what he can see, there's like a whole cave system woven into, like the Darameus is essentially a giant shoal. This is a coral bridge that connects all three islands, Moria with Greater Iran, with I'm blanking on the name, but the long island above the. Those 3 islands are connected by this coral bridge, and when the tide is low, it's crossable with wagons and oxen and so forth.
Ganzat?
Ganzat, yeah, that's that island. So he tells you that what he's seeing is that this continues to flood. Right, the tides come in, and it floods the cave, and then all kinds of redness. It's like a red tide flows out when the tide drains away and seeps across the ocean. And he says, like as he flies over, he can see that the beaches are all bloodied with the corruption that's seeking out of it. He says something is in the Darameus that is poisoning the land, but he couldn't get any deeper into it. And he's just investigating the island, and he doesn't know who can do something about this. Something within that cavern is causing a terrible catastrophe to happening. And he says what's worse is that dark forces are being drawn from all over, right? The lawlessness, the lack of soldiers and so forth, is turning it into a feeding frenzy. He says that soon he expects, the usual actors to show up, necromancers, the legion, worshippers of chaos. All of them will converge on the island because this is essentially a breakdown of the natural order, and at some point they will try to spread and propagate what's happening here. And indeed, like unchecked, it could poison the entirety of the island of Moria, all of Ganzat, and northern Iran could eventually be blighted with this. He says, so far, thousands have died, and this could just be the start from what he can see. So if somebody doesn't do something soon, it'll be just tens of thousands will die.
What can be done?
Throw good berries in it.
A whole jar of goodberry jam.
Well, he says whatever's down there, someone has to go down and seal it away in some kind of way, shape, or form. Whether it's banished from this world or destroyed with fire. He couldn't get close enough to see what was happening there. But he says that only those with powerful druidic magic or divine magic can approach. Because without what he's seeing is that people who don't have access to magical healing quickly become corrupted. And it's only people who have access to... He says that he himself, after he was attacked by gulls, felt the corruption begin to set in, and he had to heal himself before he was right again. So the corruption is something that attacks the natural order, and from what he can tell, healing magic seems to set it to right. But it might take like a very, very powerful priest, almost like an avatar of a god, or an archdruid, some kind of tremendously powerful force to seal this away. And he's not sure where he'll find it, but he's not going to sit around just praying for it to happen. He's going to try and get as much information as he can, and try to convince the other druids to act. But he says it's going to take, he's been doing recon, and even if he flies back now, it's going to be weeks before they can get over here and do something about it. And in that time, thousands will starve and thousands more will die. And he's like, like normally the disasters that befall man are their own fault in one way, shape, or form. They build too close to a floodplain and they get drowned. They plant their crops without respect for the natural order and they die. But here, this is something that has upset the balance of harmony, and it's just people who are suffering not because of their own actions, but because of an external factor that is too large for them to deal with. And he wants to help in some way, but he doesn't know how. Other than to seek other druids. He says that he is too old to try and go do battle with whatever is down there, or to try to resist it for long. He's done his part already, and he is indeed like very old and decrepit. It took him like almost like 5 minutes to shape change back into a man. Well, he says, "That's all that I have for you. I wish I had more that I could tell you, but I hope someone is brave enough to go down there and see what's happening and seal it away. And I'll certainly try to raise the other druids, but you know how cautious they are. They take forever deliberating, and they talk about balance and order, and a lot of them are cowards when it comes to this kind of thing.
A lot of them haven't seen what
Yeah.
you and I and Mariah have seen.
He says that one of the things that he has seen be effective down there is he's seeing sorcerers are wading into the fray, and that their magic seems to be effective. But most of the ones that he's seeing down there are just conducting research and gathering specimens and attempting to warp the creatures further for their own benefit. And he says that invariably, without access to holy magic, they are soon corrupted and driven insane. So he tells you that he's seen a few different magicians try to find out what's happening over there and harness the power for themselves, but invariably they're just driven mad and corrupted. Which might explain some of the behavior we've seen recently.
Well,
that's me saying it.
How can you help me
Not
seek out these other druids? You change form so easily.
He laughs at you when he says so easily. He's like, if you only knew how much I suffer, you know, if you're very, very lucky, you'll live to suffer as much as I do right now. And you'll find an age like mine and do deeds as I have done. He says, I will fly back to the inner circle, but it will be a month and more before I can reach them. And it will be longer still before they rouse themselves to act. He says that druids work on a time scale of centuries, millennia, right? They're not equipped to deal with something rapid like this. And in general, times throughout history where there's been an existential threat like this that has risen, the druidic circle has never risen to meet it in time. He says what's needed now is like a hero of old, someone like Merryweather the Master, or Mir the Peerless, or Harlan the Warrior. We need just the heroes of old, and the problem is they're all gone now. He wonders if there are any great ones
heroes
left. Oh, do you? Well, what he tells you is essentially, like if you decide to check out the Deramaeus and try to find out what's within, even just if you can just get inside and get eyes on what's happening there, it might be enough to help us find out what can defeat it. Even if you just glance at what's going on and can make it back untainted and alive. You need to take a healer of some sort, someone who can ward off he recommends that you lay hands on somebody once each day, and if you see them start to turn, to attempt to cure them, or to cast to cure their diseases, or in any way, like touch them with holy magic, even a prayer, and that will help to ward off the taint. But he advises you, like as you're going too deep, if you feel yourself start to turn, get out of there. The other thing that he warns you is if you go to investigate the Deramaeus directly, you'll fight all kinds of terrible beasts along the way, warped ones and sorcerers. But the greatest danger of all is the very tide itself. Like the caves are dry, you can explore them for 12 hours each day, but then the tide comes in and everything floods, and anyone caught inside will be drowned. So this is the situation there. It's no easy feat, and it seems like you're very junior. You can't even change forms yet, so no one would blame you if you decided to run, right? But if you want to go and do your part, we desperately need to know what's inside the caves, and if you can find any way to defeat it, or seal it away, or just find out what hurts it. Acid, fire, cold steel, something has to destroy this. Nothing is created that cannot be destroyed. And in this case, it seems like if we don't do something soon, the land will die. Oh, that's all I have for you. I wish I could do
Been
more.
very helpful.
So, do you intend to go down there and attempt to? If you're going down there, just tell me. Are you gonna take a chance at it, or are you going to run?
I haven't healed yet. I mean, have I been resting?
Yeah, we should probably camp out first.
All right. So he says when you mention like you need to rest and heal and everything, Vasanthus reaches out and grabs you by the shoulder, and all your wounds fall away. You feel completely revitalized, and you didn't realize it at the time, but there was just a weariness setting in on you, an unusual feeling of sickness and malaise that is cured by his touch. And you realize it had been a while since you had eaten a good berry yourself. So all those wounds fall off, and he says, it feels to me like you're going to try. And he says, let me give you something. And he bends down by the beach and takes a piece of driftwood and says, how many are with you?
3.
3? All right. Before your eyes, you can see the dead piece of driftwood begin to sprout new leaves, and 4 different branches branch off of the dead piece of wood and curl around on themselves and to rings, and then snap off from the thing. So 3 or 4 rings of living wood shape themselves in his hand, and he says they won't save you from the corruption, but there's something. So wear these always, and just keep some kind of holy magic about you at all times, and keep an eye for any sign of the taint. Find out what you can do, and if you need my help, right? He gives you a secret phrase that you can say in Druidic. I'll hear you. Like, I don't know how far I'll be, but you can call for me, and I'll try to help. And he's like, you're doing well so far. Do what you can, and I'll try to warn the others. So, with that,
keep my eye out for the taint.
So, with that, he begins like very painfully transforming back. So you have the 4 druid rings of living wood, living driftwood. And before long, he takes wing again and painfully sets off, taking to the air there. So you have met one of the legendary druids.
Vasanthus.
Yeah, Vasanthus the druid, who has given you info on what is there. So here is a place where you adventurers can rest up, fully heal your wounds, take some time, and recover from all that you've seen there. I feel like there's not much more danger in this place, other than the danger that you've already seen. So
Would I've been able to ask Vasanthus what the silver ring does, or if he recognized the inscription.
You should have thought of it before he flew away.
Damn.
God damn it.
I feel like it does
Can
something.
I ask you real quick, what is the Trinket of the penny priests,
Mhm.
what exactly does that look like?
So that's a little tin trinket that at one point had sort of like a copper plating over it, but it's mostly been worn away. Like it's a piece of tin that's been plated with copper, and people rub it while they're praying. It's just like a little image of the sun right there. So these are priests who worship the
Okay.
sun,
Thanks.
who claim that it is all powerful and divine, but they don't answer prayers and they can't heal anybody. They just seem to really want to collect offerings for the most part, and they may or may not be frauds. But among the poor, it seems like they do give some solace. So this is one of their trinkets that people would carry around and pray to.
As a thief, do I recognize them as just basically swindlers? for
They're
the most
100%
part, or
swindlers. Yeah,
an
they
actual-
just rip people off, and many of them are thieves themselves, and philanderers and so forth. They really are frauds.
So, when you say that some people are in fact given solace through them, is it
Yeah.
just a placebo effect, or like
Well, I mean, no
any
more.
miracle just attributed to
Yeah,
them?
no more than any
They're, like,
other.
purchasing alms.
I think we can see examples
Okay,
all
all
around.
right, I
us
don't mean
there.
to. I'm just wondering.
No,
That's
no, no. Yeah, but this is a piece of game lore that you would know. There, you would. In fact, it's generally known that these guys aren't about shit, and it's really the absence of legitimate priests that have allowed their sect to emerge. Now that there aren't priests of the true gods doing miracles in the streets and healing people and so forth, all these pretenders come in, and they're just sort of coasting on the reputation of the priests that came before, who could actually perform miracles. So this concludes our adventure for this week. Everybody has advanced halfway to level 6 now. In fact, a little bit better. You guys are 2/3 of the way total to level 6.
Cool.
And you decide to, just because of the severity of your wounds and so forth, you decide to take another day and just rest here and camp and subsist on good berries and your rations and everything a little bit longer. And by the end of that day, you will have healed fully, just through a combination of rest and relaxation and Zartet's healing magic, and nothing attacks you for the entirety of that day.
And good company.
Yeah, good company. And
So I have all my spells back as well.
you have your spells back as well.
Oh,
And
you can
what's more
concentrate on new
important,
spells
yeah,
too.
what's more important is that your vision has slowly cleared up.
That's not really that important.
Okay. you can see again and no longer suffer a penalty. I will tell you, Zartet. So in this world, the sea is not saline, right? So people take water from the ocean and so forth. But I would assume that all of you are being very careful to boil any water before you drink it at this point, just given the degree of corruption that's going on here. So that's just a note. You know better than to just drink water out of a river or whatever with the whole land blighted here. And from time to time, as you're taking the day, you can see storms sort of racing across the ocean outside, and just red rain upon the sea. And fortunately, there's shelter inside of the cave, and none of you are in any danger. So when we resume the adventure, you will all be at full health and ready to sally forth once more. You're only about 15 miles now from Vera Brink, and you can find out what has happened to that city.
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
All right, congrats, everybody. All right, thank you to everybody who watched IRC D&D.
Bye, everyone.
Number 8. Bye, everybody. Shout outs to Rebirth and Peter Cap for coming through. And shout outs to Angie, our Ranger, Kuntz, the Fire Mage, Logic, the Thief, and Zartet, the Druid. And there will be more appearances from some of the folks that you have seen today in our next chapter, Chapter 9. All right. Good night, everyone.